Welcome to this presentation about the Caribbean Netherlands with highlights about population, society, and economy up to 2023. Let's start with the population on the islands. Over the past 5 years, the population has remained stable on Saba and Statia. However, if we look at the numbers of residents of Bonaire, we see an increase of 20%. This significant increase on Bonaire has to do with several factors, among others with newcomers, and these are mostly from the European Netherlands and from sister island Curaçao. With the Dutch European immigrants, we see a growth of 34%, and immigrants from Curaçao, there we saw an increase of 20% over the past 5 years. Another factor that might have contributed to this population increase on Bonaire, this is remigration, and this means immigrants who return to the islands and who were born in the former Netherlands, Antilles, or Aruba. Zooming into the population, we see that in 2021, approximately 90% of the population on the 3 islands were satisfied with their lives. They were mostly satisfied with the neighborhoods they lived in and also with the work that they did. If we take a closer look at Saba and Statia, we see that they were the least satisfied with the financial situation. But what does this situation look like? In 2021, approximately 20% of the population on Bonaire and on Saba said they had difficulties making ends meet. This figure was considerably higher on Statia, namely 30%. The majority of these people, they didn't have enough money for specific and or unexpected expenses. People are not only having difficulties in the present, but they also have concerns about their financial future. On Statia, almost 60% of population has concerns about their future, and on Bonaire and Saba, this is around 45%. In 2022, consumer prices of goods and services increased compared to a year before. Inflation on Bonaire was then nearly 10%, while prices on Statia were nearly 8% and on Saba nearly 9%. Important factors that contributed to this higher inflation were prices for food, for transportation, housing, water, and energy. This trend isn't unique to the islands of the Caribbean Netherlands, but is a global phenomenon. If we look specifically at the quarterly developments, we see that the inflation was decreasing on all 3 islands, and this started as of the 3rd quarter of 2022 until the 2nd quarter of 2023. The most significant decrease occurred on Bonaire, and mainly this was due to the subsidy on the standing charge for electricity, and this was introduced as of the 1st of November of 2022. We see that prices were on a rise again in the 3rd quarter of 2023. An important driver for this inflation has been the food prices, and these prices have been on a steady rise since the beginning of 2020, and starting the 1st quarter of 2022, there has been a notable acceleration in the food prices. As mentioned before, most people in the Caribbean Netherlands say they are satisfied with their job. In terms of employment rate, 70% of the working age population on Bonaire were employed, while on St. Eustatius and Saba, this was 73% and 67%. But what does this say about unemployment? Not everyone in the working age population is part of the local labor force. Some people are neither looking or are not available for work. Others are still studying or are unavailable due to disability or poor health. If we now look at the unemployment rate on the islands, this was relatively low in 2022. On Bonaire, this was 3%, on Statia, 3.9%, and on Saba, 2.5%. Let's have a look at the sectors in which people are working. On all three islands, public administration and services, construction and education rank among the top 5 of economic activities with the most workers. On both Statia and Saba, public administration and services was the economic activity with the largest share of working population. On Bonaire, construction has the largest share of workers, followed by accommodation and food services. Our figures cover not only the economy and the incomes, but also religion, for example. The majority of residents living on the islands in the Caribbean Netherlands, they consider themselves to be part of a religious group. On Saba and Bonaire, Catholicism is by far the largest religion. On Statia, on the other hand, there are 3 religious groups of approximately the same size. These are the Methodists, Roman Catholics, and the Seventh-day Adventists. Another interesting topic is the presence of 3 icons in nature: the turtle, the quail, and the flamingo. The green turtle is one of the most frequently observed turtles on Bonaire. The loggerhead turtle is only spotted during the nesting season. The quail dove is native to Statia, and this bird has suffered from a lot of consequences of passing of hurricanes in the last period, so it has declined rapidly. But on a positive note, even though the flamingo is declining on many Caribbean islands, and this is due to habitat destruction, we see on Bonaire that the flamingo population has remained stable throughout the past years. Thank you very much for your attention, and remember to read our newest edition of the Caribbean Netherlands in Numbers.